this is our prompting hierarchy graphic, although it's not really a hierarchy in the sense that you might think of regular hierarchies. This is probably a new take. If you were at the last training, you've seen it, but if you haven't seen this training before, what we wanted to show is that it flows from most intrusive to least intrusive, or independent to dependent, and that it's a two-way street. You're going to be going both ways. So there isn't a one-stop shop out there for a prompting hierarchy. If you go to Google and you type in a prompting hierarchy, you're going to pull up any number of different graphics, and they're all going to look a little bit different, and the different prompting types may be in different orders. What we want you to take away from this is that those are the different types of prompts. You need to know what they are and how to use them and how they work together. So as we start designing our prompting levels or our process for students, you want to make sure that you're doing it individualized, because not every student will need every level of prompting on that graphic. The goal for prompting is to use it to get your student to the correct answer with as little intrusion as possible. What if it doesn't work? Sometimes that happens. Then you need to look at changing your prompt level. We want to look at changing what we're doing, not changing what the student's doing. And we don't want to stay doing the exact same thing over and over, waiting on them to catch on. We want to look at what we're doing and see what we can do to change to help get them where we want them to be. I'm sure that I said this last time, so if you're in the last training, you heard it, but we've all heard the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting something different to happen. But that's not going to be us with prompting. You're going to reflect on your data and make the changes you need to get the student moving forward. Now, there are some very specific steps for fading prompts, but for this training, we're going to go over some general guidelines, and in the future, we will give some more of those specific details. So the big key here is scaffolds and prompts are not meant to be permanent. If you've ever worked with a student that is prompt dependent, you've probably seen, you could see a couple different things, but one thing that you might see is you give them a direction and they put their hand in your hand and wait for you to walk them through the activity. So their prompts weren't faded. And so now they're dependent on somebody prompting them to complete the activity. That's why we want to make sure that we have a plan to fade out those prompts. Your data collection is going to help guide you through that. So here's the scoring guide from the data collection sheet that we looked at earlier. This student for this level had a full physical, a partial physical. They have verbal or gesture together at the same score. If your student needed every level of prompting on that graphic, you're going to have to edit this scoring guide to fit that, because there are more than 4 prompts on there. So make sure that you're individualizing it for the students regarding the prompts, and that means you'll have to change your scoring guide too if you're using this type of a scoring guide. If they stall, stop, drop, and assess, and you're evaluating using your data. Your data collection is going to be how you're deciding if it's working, if it's not working, if you've stalled and you need to move forward. And then remember that you need to heavily reinforce when the students are even a tiny step more independent than they were in the past. In my classroom, anything that was done independently, the first 1 to 3 times that they did it independently, it was a big deal, like party, it's the best day ever. And then you don't want to stop reinforcing, but you don't have to make a big deal out of it forever. You can scale back your reinforcement, but continue to reinforce. Don't stop reinforcing something just because they're doing it independently.